What is the theological life? And do you really have to have one? Hi, I'm Mike Mason. This is the Immortal Combat Podcast. The Immortal Combat Podcast is the podcast arm of Viri Christi. Viri Christi is a Catholic lay apostolate devoted to help young men attain the full stature of Christ by growing strong in mind, body, and spirit. If you'd like to learn more about our work, you can check us out online at virichristi.com. This is the Rule of Life, episode 7. And the question before us today is, what is the theological life, and do you have to have one? Now, last week, we discussed why a man needs to be strong in mind. And the reason why I gave you guys is, one, reason demands it. This is just what we are by nature. Being strong in mind, this is what we are, okay? So we are rational beings. That's what sets us apart from animals. We need to develop our life of the mind to become the men God wants us to be. Second, I looked at the fact that God commands us to do this. I read you guys a passage from Romans where St. Paul clearly says in there, we need to renew our minds so that we don't conform to the world. Guys, the world's trying to fill our heads with all kinds of bad ideas about what it means to be a man, what the good life is, what your priorities should be. To avoid those errors, okay, so we're not building our lives on junk, we need to fill our minds with good ideas so that we can know God's will for us and go after it, okay? We also talked about the virtue of studiousness. We need to be developing studiousness, gentlemen. Being a man is being studious, acquiring mastery. Doesn't need to mean you need to get a PhD or be some expert or anything like that. You just need self-controlled mastery in the life of the mind. Now, this week, we're going to talk about the roles of faith and reason and how they contribute to the theological life. And I'm going to give you guys a couple practical suggestions to do this stuff, help out with your homework and stuff like that. All right, let's start with faith and reason. Pope St. John Paul II said, faith and reason are like two wings on which the human spirit rises to contemplate the truth. And we know from last week, God is truth. So faith and reason are two pathways. We can know things about God, about ourselves, and about our world, okay? Faith and reason both do this, but they do this in distinct ways. Let's start with reason. Reason is our natural ability, okay, just by nature, just because we're rational beings, to think about the big questions in life, okay? So our ability to just, with no aid whatsoever, to think about, is there a God? What's the meaning of life? Where it happens when I die? What's the difference between right and wrong? Reason is our ability to do that. The Catholic Church says, by reason alone, okay? No church, no Bible, no nothing. We can know things that are true about God, about the world around us, and about ourselves. So when I'm talking to people who are not Christian folk, okay, about morality or religion or whatever, or the meaning of life, there's a lot of things I can say without saying stuff like, well, the church says so, or the Bible says so, okay? So by reason alone, we can just do this. Now, what's the use of reason when it comes to alongside faith? What reason does with faith is it helps us to explain it and to defend it. So when someone comes to me and says, hey, I don't understand what y'all mean by such and such in Catholicism, what reason or philosophy can help me do is explain what that stuff means, okay? It also helps me defend it. There's people come around and say, I don't think the Catholic Church is right about such and such. Well, what reason can do is it can help me defend the church's position against objections, okay? So that's reason. What then is faith? Faith is belief based on authority, okay? Faith is not wishful thinking. It's not like, I just hope this happens. Faith is not blind leap in the dark. It's belief based on authority. Faith is when you know something is true because you trust the person who told you. Now, ultimately, who do we have faith in, fellas? We have faith in God. Can God lie? No. So when God tells you something's true, it has to be true, even if you can't prove it. Why? Because he said it. Guys, what faith is when we believe something because a trusted authority said it's true. Okay? Now let's illustrate these two things. Let's say my daughter, I have young kids. Let's say my daughter, she's 10 right now as of this recording. Let's say she's sitting up, we're playing at the playground, and she's up there, and I put my arms out and I tell her to jump. Now, she might jump off the top of the play set, okay? Because it was not super high. But if you asked her after she jumped, why did you jump? She'd say, well, because I knew my dad would catch me, okay? Well, she had faith that I would catch her. And why does she have faith in that? Because I told her I would, and that's enough. So she knew she'd be caught because I said so. Now, if you went to her and said, oh, your faith is a giant leap in the dark and that's ridiculous, she'd say, no, it's not ridiculous. She'd say, I'm not very big and my dad's strong enough to catch me. And my dad's always caught me. And I'm only 4 feet off, 4 or 5 feet above him. Okay. So I'm not even that high above him. So she'd be like, no, I have lots of good reasons to trust him. Okay. That's how faith and reason fit together. So faith is when we believe something. Reason does is it helps to defend it, explain it, stuff like that. Guys, this is just what theology is. Theology is when God tells us something through the scriptures, God tells us something through the church, and our reason can explain it, defend it, examine it, all that sort of stuff. That's just what theology is. So when we're doing this podcast together, doing theology stuff, all we're going to do is look at what God has said is true, and then I'm going to help you guys understand it better by using our reason. Does that make sense? So that's what we're going to be about here, and it's going to be tons of cool stuff. Now, I want to give you guys a couple practical takeaways, knowing that we're going to do this, right? We're going to do this theological life. We're going to try to practice this together, and I'm encouraging you guys to do this. What are some practical things that you guys should do each day to make growing intellectually, becoming strong in mind a little bit easier? Okay, so what can you do? Okay, I've got 5 tips for you. Okay, and before I launch into those, keep in mind a strong mind and a strong body should go together. Okay, last month I wasn't trying to create a bunch of meatheads. So I hope you guys are very strong, okay, and fit. No, a strong body is going to free the mind to do its work. Okay, so a sound mind, a strong mind, a sound body, a strong body, that is the goal. So a lot of the tips to make sure you guys are getting your homework done, school, intellectual life, studying your faith a couple times a week, like we're going to try to do here. There's some things you can do, kind of build your life to make this a little bit easier for you. Okay. First thing, y'all need to go outside more often. Fresh air, sunshine is good for you in lots of ways. It will help you to live a good intellectual life. Okay. So make sure you guys are getting outside. Now, some of you guys have practice sports, that sort of stuff. Go outside and take breaks. You guys are studying for a long time. Dude, just go for a walk. It'll help clear your mind and make homework a little bit easier. Second, exercise regularly. When your body starts becoming disciplined, okay, and in the right order and working right, it's going to free your mind to do its business. Make sure you guys develop that strong in body and strong in mind will come a little bit easier. Third, watch what you eat. Dude, you guys shove your mouths full of, whole packets of a whole, thing of Pringles, and you eat, a whole carton full of cookies and then try to sit down to your homework. It's not going to be very successful. Y'all need to eat a healthy diet. And I know you guys are going to eat junk food sometimes. You're teenagers, which is fine. But we need to eat healthy foods. Okay. Healthy diet is going to help you not only study better, but pray better. So make sure you guys are eating well. And that'll also help you with the body discipline from last month. Fourth, simplify your life. Dude, I'm sorry. You have to cut some stuff out. Maybe not completely. Okay. But your life needs to become more simple, because as you simplify it, stop making it so cluttered, you're going to be carving out space to hit the weights, run like we talked about last month, study like we're talking about this month, pray as we talked about last month. So simplify your life. Last thing, and in the age of cell phones, fellas, this one's super important. You need to practice solitude and silence. Guys, you need to step away from the noise of life every now and again. I'm not going to get super specific on what that should look like for you, but all of you should have solitude and silence throughout the day. You should have times in the day where the cell phone music's not pumping in your ears. You got to set time aside. And as you get comfortable and used to that solitude and silence, it's going to come easier to you to study and pray. All right. Okay. Those are a couple of things for food for thought. Next week, we're going to talk about fighting the good fight of faith. So that should be a pretty fun and lively discussion. But this month, fellas, keep being strong in mind, stay disciplined. Let's get down to studying twice a week, even for short periods, and get after it. So hope you guys have a blessed week. I'll talk to you next week.